how have you turned out to be? Now, I've been doing a survey with the people here, and what I learned is that often when you were supported growing up, you seek out environments that support you. And you're often the type of person that under stress or duress will go to be a supportive person. Let's use myself as an example. I was challenged a lot. I was in situations where if it was going to be, it was up to me. And now it's easy for me to challenge all of you. Does it make sense? I lacked encouragement, and I tend to really want to encourage other people to success. What is it for you? Keith, John, Ryan, Michael, do you seek supportive environments? Are you a supportive person? When put into a team situation, do you tend to lead through support, encouragement, or challenge? As a parent, do you tend to be supportive, encouraging, or challenging? And there's I don't want to say a downside, but there's a side maybe that needs to be built up, is if you are mostly supportive, as many of you are, and you lack support, you may leave the environment, you may feel unloved, you may feel literally supported, or that you can't make it without that support. So think about that and reflect on that, because you might have to work on creating a greater awareness around a certain area and go, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have to support myself. I'm gonna have to challenge myself in order to step up if the environment doesn't provide me with the support that I'm used to. What I believe is that you're probably gonna want to, as a parent, create an environment where you support, encourage, and challenge your child in the appropriate amounts for each one. And I'm suggesting maybe 30% support, 30% encourage, and 40% challenge. And that's just my first stab at this, because I'm working on this technology as I do my little self-analysis, as I'm partially doing with you. What I've also realized is that the male energy, or the man in many cases, would be the challenger. The feminine energy, in most cases, would be the supporter, and ideally, both parents or guardians would share the encouragement piece. Does that make sense? Think about, what's happening in the world now that you're in as a parent. Was that reflective in your life? Let's say that you grew up without the challenge of a father. Either the father wasn't there, or the father lacked the ability to challenge. Now you've had to become challenged through feminine energy, or the feminine energy has had to become masculine and challenge you, or you didn't get challenged at all, you were just supported and encouraged, and you may not be as, I'm gonna say, as resilient or tough as you might like to be. Does that make sense as well? So Ryan, yes to both. John Barry, yes to both. Keith, I support and challenge as a team leader and parent. Jason, hey. As I think about it now, I tend to seek support and leave the environment if I feel not wanted and not supported. Bam! Roman, thank you for being honest, and think about how important this is you're going to seek out environments almost only that support you and leave them if they don't. Well, what happens if the shit goes down, or people turn into dicks, or the environment gets hostile? Will that happen in life? Yeah, of course it will. Now, I'm not saying that you have to seek those out, but when that does go down, you may have to convince yourself to be more resilient, to be stronger, to be able to push through. And that's the benefit of this. You see, the DISC model is great. You could say I'm a high D or I'm a high C, but what does that mean, and where does that come from, right? It doesn't really give you, it tells you how you're probably going to behave with your behavior, but it doesn't tell you the root cause of it and how you can now address it. So what I think with this technology is, let's find out what environments you seek today, Like, I seek often challenging environments. You've heard me have this challenge with Kristen in tennis, which, by the way, I got my ass kicked 6-0, 6-3. And it allows me to sustain the environment of me being challenged as I now plan for the next 6-month segment before before we play again. It allows me to perpetuate the environment I grew up in with, where I had to work hard. I have to work hard to catch up to her. I've attracted myself into an environment where I get to relive my youth. If your youth was one where you were supported a lot, you might seek out those environments. And in the absence of them, it doesn't work. If I play tennis with people that are not very good, that don't challenge me, and that are supportive and encouraging, I get bored. There's no fire in the belly. And it's harder for me to have a good time. But think about that. Where else in my life might I have to recreate difficulty and challenge in order to be stimulated because of what I'm used to? So the gift I want to give you is, what environments are you seeking? Do they support you long term? And are you evolving through them in order to become a balanced, rounded person? And finally, how are you raising your children? What are you doing? What context are you creating? Now, my children, I think, have turned out pretty great. Why? Well, they were supported. Supported means, like, people go, what's the difference between supported and encouraged, Rock? Well, supported is like paying for college or a part of college. Encouragement is saying, hey, how are you going? What are your marks, etc. And then challenging is saying, hey, are you going to join the football team? Can you do better than that? And my good buddy Chris Benedict has just showed up in the background. And we had a marvelous time here, spending some time. Yo, give him a shout out, Chris.
Good morning, everyone. Listen to this man and get to an event.
So those are the context. How are you raising your children? What are you doing in order to create an environment that they're going to be able to be more durable and more adaptable? So if you're just pouring challenge into them because that's what you realized, then that's probably what they'll be used to, and that's the only flexibility they'll have out there in the world. I supported my children going through college or going through school and through hockey teams. I supported them, paid for them. I paid for their education. But I also encouraged them to get good grades and to show up and to participate and to ask questions in class, etc. And I challenged them by having them do some chores around the house, make a little bit of money, save that money, use it to buy certain things for themselves without just giving them everything. So that balance has created what I think is young people that are willing to or capable of thriving in all of those environments, if that makes sense. So I'm going to continue to work on these filters and share with you my findings, and you can help me seek out some of the nuances on it as we all talk about the study. I perform best when I facilitate others to learn, implement, succeed. My children are the center of my universe, whom I work with consciously daily in all the areas. I love it. And yes, not very good at doing it for myself. So in Stephen's case, he makes his children the center of the universe. He does things every day. So what are the chances he either grew up that way and appreciated it, or he grew up without all of that support and encouragement and challenge he's giving his children, and he wants to pour into them? Mostly, I'm guessing, is because he didn't get it. But, I could be wrong. Hey, Roman, Greg is watching. Yes, that will happen in life. That's why each of these areas is important. That's correct. Bless you, bless you. My father wasn't there much. He usually challenged me when I was at my lowest. The truth was I craved encouragement at these points in my life, and I think I models the behavior with how I deal with my son. So, Michael, let's think about this. How do you handle it when it's extremely challenging situations? And when you lack the encouragement, what happens? So there was somebody else that was here with that same situation. As they were challenged a lot. They were almost going to become a tennis pro at a young age, and they had an amazing coach. It's not somebody from our tribe. It was a guest, a young man, about 28 years old, and very, very demonstrative, badass, really cool guy. But I would say he leads mostly with challenge and encouragement, but a lot with challenge, actually mostly with challenge. But he said to me that he felt like his coach really didn't care for him. He says, well, not care for him. His coach cared for him, but his coach didn't believe in him. I'm going to say that again, Michael. His coach cared for him, but didn't believe in him. And if somebody doesn't believe in you, and that's why we say we don't apologize for being awesome in here, and we want to remind other people, yes, you can do this. You're a single mom. You got this. You can do this. You're somebody who is, starting your own business. You'll figure it out. We want to lend that belief. We want to encourage people so that they take the action. But if you lack the encouragement, you crave it, and you don't get it, it can be destructive. It can be discouraging. It can take you out, and you can struggle for the rest of your life. You're going to have to learn to encourage yourself at times, is what I believe. And the importance of being in this environment where other people can hear what your passion and story is, and then they can encourage you. That is perhaps why I keep on telling people it is most valuable for you to come to events. Yeah, so Steve is saying he did not get it at all. So good for Stephen, you have cracked the cycle and you're now providing for your children what you recognize you did not have. And my suggestion to you is to look at how you're doling out the three of them, the support, encourage, and challenge. And when your kids are having a rough time, do they feel like they're encouraged, or are you over-challenging them, or vice versa? Oh, encourage, you got this, you got this, you got this, you got this, and not providing them with enough of a challenge, or not supporting them, like, locking them out of the house and having them feed 22 horses. So something to think about, guys. I think it's huge. People, we talked about this for hours. We did an amazing race, and people were like, some of the people in the amazing race would challenge, people on their team and or other teams, and try to block them, or pull their map, and so they would have to turn back and grab it off the floor. They challenged them. Other people would encourage people on their team and encourage other people by giving them answers for some of the quizzes and encouraging and supporting them. The filters showed up, and it was remarkable on how people lived their life through these filters. Morning, Edna. Morning. My dad was a workaholic, but didn't spend enough time with us because his dad wasn't around either, says Gregory. So it's up to me to break that cycle with my girls. You're darn tootin' right there, Gregory. That is your responsibility, and we are here to support you and encourage you and challenge you to do that. So keep us posted, because that may be the most important work that you're doing. It may totally be. Everything else might be secondary. Like I said, I had my kids come on stage, and I had people ask them questions into what their upbringing was, and they joyfully talked about, the fact that they felt supported, encouraged, and challenged. But a little tongue-in-cheek on the challenge part, because I was a little bit tough on them. But you know what? Iron strengthens iron. Good morning, Lindsay. Yeah, Michael, I want to play that out with you, because my experience of you, Michael, is that you're a super nice guy. And usually, you're like in the category of Sven, super, super nice. And you responded to your environment growing up by being mostly what I believe is supportive and encouraging. What would be the area that I think would serve you to have some focus on, Michael and Sven, by the way, is what you do in the area of challenge. how can you be, it's like I have to work on being a little more supportive and encouraging, believe it or not. It requires more effort. I just basically want to say, suck it up, motherfucker, because that was my reality. Make sense? But in most cases, I've become better at supporting and encouraging than my core way of being is. And sometimes in situations, I just go straight to challenge when I think that the person gets it, or when I'm squeezed, or the situation is tough, or I go into my fear that I'm not good enough or things aren't going to go down. I do generally go to challenge, and I can be a bit of a dick in that area. And people are, why are you being a dick? Well, my filter changes into when I'm under pressure, and I go back to that pattern. And I bet you do too, whichever one it is. When the pressure's on, Michael, you may go to be a very supportive person, when what would serve you better at a higher level would be to be challenged. Would you mind giving me some water, please? 90-day challenge to implement SEC in each of my relationships. Ryan, I love you, brother. I love you, brother, taking leadership like that. Rock, when you say filters in people's lives through the filters, can you expand on that? Says Darren. What are some examples of filters? What we're talking about, Darren, is support, encourage, and challenge. And I would also bet that you're in the area of support, encourage primarily. You either grew up with that, or you lacked it, and now you live through that way. My experience of you is you're a super nice guy. Thank you. And you create environments that are supportive, encouraging, and you seek them out that are supportive, encouraging, and you grow and learn best in that environment. How much of a challenge can you take? What areas do you like to be challenged in? With technology, with intelligence, with physical part of your life? For those of you that struggle with working out, you may be challenged so much in your life, you're like, fuck that, I don't want to challenge myself that. I'm going to take care of myself now. I'm going to self-care versus beat myself up and push myself hard. And or you do the exact opposite. So I hope that makes sense. Morning, Chrissy. Oh, Stephen, I know Chrissy's in your pod. She was amazing down here. She played full out. You asked her if she had a good time. I think she had an amazing time. I created my own enthusiasm. Less critical, more encouraging. To be, is that what you need to be, Gregory? Less critical and more encouraging? Yeah, and the critical, by the way, comes from challenge. It's more in the department of challenge, more in the category of challenge. Maybe you're challenged by your father, your mother. So you now use the same strategy or lens or filter. And when you're more encouraging, it starts to say, I believe in you, I see you, and I believe you can do it. I think we can all use more of that. And it's not about being sappy or sucky. It's about feeding people. One of the greatest coaches in the history of coaching, Coach the Brown brothers, to be the top in the world for 483 weeks in a row and win 7 Grand Slams in a row. And he taught me when I took a lesson with him, the first thing always, 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 and you've heard this, it's like compliment, criticize, compliment, the sandwich. But he says, I always encourage my athletes because my job is to build their belief in themselves. But can you overdo it? Can a parent say, you're the best, you're awesome, you're never going to make a mistake, you're the best in the class, you're the best cheerleader, you're the best this, and put this undeniable pressure on this person that causes them to freak out and be fearful of failure? They have to be perfect for their parents because they've been given all the support, all the encouragement. Now the only thing that could mean me failing is if I'm not good enough. And then they could manifest that. So it's a very tricky little cocktail we have to come up with to be the greatest parents and to nurture ourselves in that area. JP, iron strengthens iron. I was challenged quite a bit, but I do not seek encouragement and support. But I do seek encouragement and support from time to time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Challenge is my weakest, but in what I need the most and enjoy getting challenged and learning how to respond to challenge. Yes, so if you learn how to respond to challenge, I would say that when you're challenged, there's an emotion that rises up in you. There's an energy that presents itself. When I'm challenged, there's an energy that presents itself. And I think if you're challenged and you back down, fight or flight, then that's an area you need to grow into. You need to go, okay, I've been challenged, I need to step up, I need to take that on, I need to make that happen. I need to grow my capacity in that area. The military will do it for people. If you grew up and you then later you had it pretty easy and your parents shipped you off to the military, what happened? You say, people say you got hardened, but you also learned to find a part of yourself that was always available there, but that was never accessed. Could I be a more supportive, encouraging person? Absolutely. But I spent most of the time in the gym of challenge, so I'm not that familiar with it as some other people are. So it's a muscle, it's a part of me that I could develop by being more conscious of it. Does that make sense, guys? I mean, I'm just freaking loving this shit. I'm enamored by this. I'm fascinated by it. And I'm gonna pour into it because I love the challenge of making it something that's useful so that you can find yourself more resourceful in times of challenge, more compassionate in times of lack of support, and more enthusiastic in times when encouragement is required for yourself and for others. And again, especially your children, I think this is huge. Luann says, I found my parents were somewhat supportive for a while. I grew dependent on it, yes, and struggled to make my own decisions, yes. Excellent point, Luann. Thank you for bringing that up. Super, amazing. You guys are so smart. So actually, I'm watching myself. Now that was encouragement there, right? I went to encouragement on this instead of I could have challenged her to say, well, blah, blah, blah. So let's look at this. So if you become dependent on the support from others, too dependent, they make your lunch, they tie your shoes for you, they do your homework for you. You get too much support. You've seen this with children growing up. The parents practically do the project for them. They drop them off at the front door. They practically spoon feed food to them. They do everything. The child doesn't grow any muscle. So you've got to give some tough love, which can be tough because if you didn't get it growing up, it might give you huge pain to not get it, so you overcompensate, right? Mike Lambert, your streak is over of coming to every M1 event. The crown is being passed now to Chris Crawford. Dude, what happened? We missed you. Where were you? Why didn't you come? The more chaos, the more people panic and worrying, the calmer and more focused I become. I absolutely live and breathe challenges. Yes, so Steve, that's awesome you're good in those environments. What's the downside to that? Think about what's the downside. Is it possible that you seek out, you leave things to the end, you wait until things become challenged? In the Sunday System for Success, I talk about people waiting to get things into the red zone, where you access the chemicals that are created by being under fire and you become more capable. We want you to manufacture those chemicals when it doesn't matter. In other words, to be able to do things that are important before they're urgent and then live a more balanced life. Yeah, it's fun. Yes, you're the hero. Yes, you show up there and you save the day. But you're waiting for life to determine when you get to be in your very best. Does that make sense? What time is it? 2 more minutes. Okay, I'm giving 2 more minutes. Let's wrap this up. I believe in you, team. You have all helped me learn to believe. Mick, encouraging. He goes to encouragement. I think I have to be more supportive, encouraging with my son. He brought it up this week and he told me he felt that I always focused on what he does wrong and not enough of. He does right. Yes, I would agree with that, Michael. It's probably a very strong chance that you need to do that. Good morning, everyone. Sending love and positive energy to all of you from Cabo Mastermind at this very moment. Luann, I see the issue in my family where the kids can be somewhat entitled, proud to pay attention to this. Krista says the event was amazing. This is the power of a stoic. Stephen, thanks, Charles D. Waterman. Perhaps more challenge is what we need. Sven, you've challenged me without even directly doing it, just by being so awesome. Awesome. Good to hear. Yeah, it's really fun, that awareness around growth and the energy shift. Lindsay, Stephu, Laura, Jacqueline, Abby, we spoke about this last night in our pod. Make sure you listen. The gym of the world, wow. Yes, makes sense for sure. Yes, yes, yes. Daniel's watching. Hello, shout out to you. All that, so lucky, but made this outside world harder. Yes, in life, if you do what is easy, life will be difficult. If your parents only expose you to what's easy, then life will be difficult. I was exposed to difficult. My life is easier. I'm more capable of doing things. And remember, it doesn't make it right or wrong. It just makes it your filter, your experience, and it's up to you to adapt. All right, bunch of more questions and comments I'm not going to get to, but Mike Lambert, sorry, I wish I was there, but too much going on. What's great about this? Really love this chat and such an amazing, great topic. Bring awareness around the great tribe. All right, guys. So to round up this Rise with Rock, I challenge you to post something that you're going to do in the next 90 days and have an awareness around support, encourage, and challenge, and see how it affects, and also create comments with your tribe, your pod, and on the tribe of any distinctions you're learning about yourself. So we can all use this as a bit of a case study, so I can build out something that we can use as a group, so we can all become more capable under each one of those circumstances and not attract ones that are going to be overcompensating us or limiting us in our behavior. So thank you all for showing up, and look forward to some of the postings of things that happened at this event. And also in the next day or two, we're going to be posting some things about the Montreal event and the next winter event, so you can take access to sign up for the early bird special and get yourself out to a badass tribe event. Love you guys all. Have amazing rest of the week. Grab life big. Hola.